Immensely happy to meet you frequently here. As many of my friends have requested me to provide them certain guidelines to become proficient in communication skills, today I would like to deal with the ways and means through which you will be able to become fluent in the use of the English language. I hope this talk will certainly be useful to all the viewers who are very particular about becoming fluent in the use of the English language. I have delivered a few lectures on mastering communication skills in several colleges and universities. In all these lectures, the audience, especially the learners, asked me three important questions. One is with regard to the role of grammar in mastering the skills of the language. The question is, could I become proficient in communication just by learning the rules of the language, just by memorizing the grammar of the English language, just by doing a number of exercises, for example, in the transformation of sentences from active voice into passive voice, from positive degree into comparative degree, or from simple sentence into a compound sentence, and so on. The second question is, could they become proficient? Could they become comfortable in the use of the English language by attending short-term courses, 1 month or 3-month courses, which give them an assurance that they will definitely become fluent in the use of the English language in a very short period? The third question is, how much time do they need to master the skills of the language? So this lecture is designed to address these issues and tell you the ways and means through which you will be able to use the language comfortably well in a short period of time. Let's begin with the first question raised by the audience. The question is, could they become proficient in the use of the English language by memorizing the grammar of the English language? My answer to their question is no. I tell you this because their knowledge of grammar will not help them to transfer their knowledge of the grammar of the English language to a real communication situation outside the classroom. I don't say grammar is not important. What I say is that grammar is important, but skills could be mastered only through exposure to the language. Only through exposure to the 4 skills of the language. The second question, the usefulness of short-term courses all the short-term courses on the English language are extremely useful, no doubt about it. But I don't think you will become fluent in communication in about 3 months. Okay? You have to work hard. You have to practice the skills of the language for a long period to become the master of the communication skills of the English language. The third, what's the period within which I could become proficient in communication? Your proficiency in communication depends on the efforts you take, the kind of exposure you have every day to the skills of the language, the kind of practice you do every day to master the skills of the language. So we can't say that you will be able to become proficient in communication in 3 months or 4 months or 5 months. The truth is that in the case of some individuals who work very hard, who continuously expose themselves to the language, they will become proficient in a short period. But if you don't practice the skills, regularly, you will take, a long period of time. That's all. But if you practice these skills, you will certainly become fluent in communication. Okay. Now, what is meant by communication? What is the purpose of communication? You know well that communication means a social interaction. Communication is considered to be successful if both the sender and the receiver comprehend the messages exchanged. Okay. So I would like to begin with giving you 2 interesting samples of communication. One is a few words. I don't want to call them sentences. They are not sentences. A few words used by a polytechnic student in his answer script. In his answer script, he wrote, "I sir, sick sir, not read sir. I sir, your leg sir, caught sir. Please sir, 40 sir." The second one was written by a student of an arts and science college, probably a woman student, but I'm not sure. The words she used in her communication make me understand that she must be a woman. She wrote in her answer book, "I conceive, vomit, dietness, not read. Please pause sir." Now, what's special about these 2 pieces of communication is that here both are very successful in communicating the message to the person who evaluated their answer scripts. Though they could not write sentences in English, though they could not spell words correctly. So if you carefully analyze the English language, the words, the fragments used by these 2 users of the English language, you will understand that the problems in their language relate to both vocabulary and grammar, including, if it is a spoken communication, it includes pronunciation also. So the question, we ask here is, what is the primary cause of their failure in communication? Why they are not able to use the English language? Why they are not able to write even a single sentence in English without grammatical errors, despite the fact that they have been exposed to the skills of the language for about 10 or 12 years? Okay. So the primary cause, I won't say the primary cause is their lack of knowledge of the grammar of the English language. The primary cause of their failure to communicate comfortably well is due to their lack of exposure to the skills of the language. So, if we want the learners to become fluent in communication, or if the learners would like to become fluent in communication skills, they must expose themselves to the skills of the language every day. Okay. So they must also be made to understand that in spoken and listening skills, both vocabulary and structure, besides the pronunciation or the focus. With regard to reading and writing, the focus will be on both vocabulary and structure. Okay. So, my suggestion to the learners who would like to become proficient in communication skills is to practice the 4 skills of the language every day. Let's first take up listening. Applied linguists tell us, applied linguists assert that language learning must begin with listening to the sounds of the English language. Language learning must begin with exposing the learners to the sounds of the language the learners would like to master. Okay. So when the learners would like to expose themselves to the language used by others, they must be very careful in the choice of the language they would like to listen to. I tell you this because if the language used by somebody is not good, unconsciously the learners will imitate the language used by such persons. So the learners have to be extremely cautious when they choose the model, when they decide to listen to the language of such persons. Today you live in a scientifically and technologically advanced world. So there is an opportunity. Why an opportunity? Opportunities are abundant. For example, if you just browse the YouTube, you'll be able to have access to hundreds of thousands of videos on listening skills. You will be able to listen to the English language spoken by native speakers, Americans, Britishers. You will be able to listen to the news readers of BBC or VOA. You will be able to listen to the language used by native speakers in movies. If you listen to the English language spoken by these people whose mother tongue is the English language, you will be able to know how a word or how the words of the English language must be pronounced. So learning the exact sounds of the English language is the first and the foremost step in mastering communication skills. The other advantages of listening to the language of others is that when you listen to the language of somebody for pronunciation, unconsciously you receive both the vocabulary, the words, as well as the structures of the English language, and this knowledge of the vocabulary and structure of the English language will certainly be helpful to you to write or speak in English in future. So every day, as learners who would like to become fluent in communication must spend at least 15 minutes to listen to the language of others. Okay. So listening is followed by speech. Many of my learners asked me this question, had a doubt also. They told me, "Sir, I have known the grammar of the English language. I have practiced a number of exercises when I was at school, but I am not able to speak or write, comfortably. What's the reason?" I just told them, have you ever made an attempt to, speak or use the language? Right? When they were at school, they said no. Even in the classroom, they used only the Tamil language to ask questions, to answer questions also. So I just told them, so if you would like to speak in English, you should speak in English. So when you start using the English language in spoken communication, you have to imagine that you are a child. I tell you this because only then, you will be able to, brush aside all your fears. You will be able to brush aside your shyness, which are an obstacle in the use of the English language. So imagine that you are a child. Use the language. Speak in English. You may not be able to use an appropriate word. You may not be able to use an appropriate structure. Don't worry. Your use of the English language, your communication may be criticized by your friends. Some of your friends may laugh at you, right? Don't mind them. Don't give importance to such severe or bitter criticism by the people around you, but continue to speak in English. Now, what happens? After a period, probably after 6 months, you will be surprised to know that you are able to speak as well as write sentences in English, without errors or with minimum number of errors. This is all due to the fact that you have been speaking in English every day. So, my dear learners, my dear audience, hereafter, every day, you should speak in English for about 15 minutes. The moment you enter the classroom, the moment you enter your department or enter your school, you should take an oath that you will use only the English language in your communication, in your conversation with your friends, with your teachers, and all others in school or college or university. So if you take this oath and if you are determined and if you use only English, so long as you are in your college or school or university, I give you an assurance that your spoken communication will be extremely good in a short period. Sometimes, you may not get an opportunity to find a person to have a conversation in English, probably during holidays. The people at home may not use the English language, may be illiterates. Don't worry. So when you are at home, when you don't find somebody to have a conversation in English, you just, keep yourself away from all the people of your family. Find a place where you can be alone, where you just talk aloud. Choose a topic. Just imagine that there are people in front of you and you address them. Just imagine. Or just close your eyes. Speak. Whatever you want, speak. That's the best way. I tell you this because these are all the ways and means through which you will be able to become fluent in spoken communication. The third skill is reading. And in this world, in the 21st century, many of us have forgotten the habit of, reading books, the importance, the value of reading books. So we must read books. We must read books not only to know what others have learned as well as experienced in their life, not only to gather knowledge about life, but also to improve your communication skills. So as beginners, I don't say that you should read a novel or a very lengthy short story. So to begin with, read a short story consisting of about just 3 or 4 pages each. Such short stories are available in the market. They are also very cheap. Buy such short story books and read a short story every day, right? As every human being has an innate interest in listening to, in telling, and also in reading short stories, you'll be able to complete, short stories in one sitting. But you have to undertake an important exercise when you read a short story. The exercise is very simple. And you have to allot, a notebook for this purpose. Choose a notebook specifically for the purpose of, enriching your vocabulary of the English language. So every day, when you read a short story, you come across a number of words whose meanings you do not know. Don't worry. So every day, just, find out 5 words. Choose 5 words from the short story you read, right? Note down the words in your notebook. You must have a dictionary beside you, right? And refer to the dictionary to find out the meaning of every one of these 5 words. Just 5 words a day. You don't have to know the meaning of more than 5 words a day because, you may find it laborious or boring or monotonous. So I don't want to tax you. Just 5 words a day. So after having known the meanings of all these words, what you have to do is to make an attempt to use every one of these words in your own sentence. Make an attempt to write a sentence. Sentence in English using these words. And this you should practice for a long period. Suppose you practice this exercise for 300 days for 10 months. At the end of the 10th month, you will be, you will be familiar with how many new words more. 10 multiplied by or 10 months, 300 days multiplied by 5. About 1,500 new words. So if you continue to do this practice over a period of time, you will be familiar with many of the words which we use in our everyday communication, and as a result, you will be able to communicate any one of your feelings or thoughts comfortably well. Right? So every day, you should read short story books or half a page of a newspaper, or read as much as you can in 15 minutes. Even when you read a news item, don't forget to note down 5 words and find out their meanings and use them in your own sentences. And the last skill, which is considered to be the most difficult, because everybody says writing is deceptively simple. Writing is not simple. Writing is not difficult. Writing is difficult only to those who have not practiced this skill, in their life. So here the exercise is very simple. Every day, you should choose a topic of a very general nature. Don't choose a topic related to your area of specialization. Choose a very general topic. For example, how I spend my holidays in Ooty. What I did at home yesterday. And what kind of conversation I had with my friend in the bazaar last week. Choose such topics and write just 15 sentences a day, not more than 15 sentences a day. So write just 15 sentences on any topic of very general nature. After having written the sentences, don't show your notebook to any one of your friends. You will be discouraged and you will be disappointed if they find out errors in your sentences. So after having written 15 sentences, you just close your notebook and forget it. The next day, choose some other topic and generate 15 sentences, close the notebook, forget it. Suppose you practice this exercise for about 6 months. After 6 months, you just compare the first draft. The 15 sentences you wrote first and the 15 sentences you wrote after 6 months. You'll be surprised to know the kind of improvement you have made in your communication skills. And this is what we mean improvement in communication, right? But you should practice writing every day. Don't tell anybody that you are not able to find time to write 10 or 15 sentences today, and you will write 10 or 15 sentences or 30 sentences tomorrow, right? So if you postpone writing sentences, right, what will happen? The period within which you would like to become fluent in communication will also be postponed, because you know well that postponement is the thief of time. So all who would like to become fluent in communication must practice these skills of the language every day. 15 minutes for listening, 15 minutes for speaking. If you find more time, well and good. You can speak in English for about half an hour or 1 hour, well and good. Or a minimum of 15 minutes, I say. 15 minutes for speaking, 15 minutes at least for reading, and 15 minutes for writing. Just an hour, 60 minutes a day will definitely help you, enable you to become proficient in communication in a short period. But I don't tell you short period means 1 year or 2 years. It all depends upon the kind of efforts you take. It all depends upon the kind of exposure you have to the skills of the language. It all depends upon the kind of exercises you do every day, right? So if you take all these exercises with utmost sincerity, and if you practice all these skills with dedication and sincerity, I am confident that you will become proficient, you will become fluent in communication skills in a short period of time, and the day will come. Definitely the day will come when you use the English language, when you speak in English or write in English, right? Your language, your communication will be appreciated by others. It means that you have successfully mastered the skills of the language. Till then, you have to patiently wait and practice the skills of the language. You know, thank you very much for having patiently listened to this. I do not know whether it is a short or long talk on the ways and means through which you will be able to master the skills of the language. Best of luck. Thank you very much.